Hey there guys, so what we're going to be doing today is we are going to be doing our best to clean up and restore the PC that we just took a look at. That is the $400 and something budget PC that my friend had been using for the last 8 years. So that's 8 years of heavy usage happening here, and we're going to have to clean all this up. Now first, what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be taking out the hard drive, and I'm just not even going to bother putting it back in. We're not going to need it for anything. This system's getting retired anyway. I kind of just want to clean it up and restore it just for the fun of it, really. But the hard drive is going to be more of a hindrance than anything else, so that I'm just going to get rid of. So I'm going to take that out. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to move the system outside, and we're just going to dust this thing out, at least to the best that we can. I can't seem to find my good duster. It's like a handheld little one. It has a lot more power than the one that I currently have, because I have an older one that just isn't all that great, but I can't find the good one. But either way, I'm just gonna blow out as much of it as I can, and then I'm gonna clean it out. So let me get started with the hard drive. All right, so gonna get all of this outside. We're gonna just blast this thing, so I'm gonna go set all of that up. So I'd say that after taking this PC out back and blowing it, it's looking significantly better. Already having that entire top layer of just what I assume is like clay dust gone makes it seem so significantly better, but obviously there's still a very thin layer on everything. So I'm going to take every piece apart, and we're just going to clean them each individually. Okay, here you can see the graphics card. Obviously it's a Strix 964 gigabyte. All right, and here are the dual sticks of RAM, 2400 megahertz. Yeah, 8 gigs. I really need to bump this up to like 16 gigabytes at least. I should just see if there's anybody local just selling a kit for like nothing of just old slow speed RAM, because this thing can't utilize fast RAM anyway, so I might as well just pick up some dirt cheap garbage RAM and just throw it in here. All right, next I'm gonna take off the CPU cooler because I'm very excited to see what thermal paste is looking like on this. Oh god, yeah, look at that. That's so dry. I mean, it makes sense after all these years, but yeah, that is just unbelievably dry. So definitely gonna have to repaste that. Honestly, by the looks of it, the board itself doesn't seem all that dirty, that I think I could dust it off from here without having to take it out. Yeah, it seems like there were just like clumps of fine clay powder, but they're coming off pretty easily, so I think I'm just gonna dust things off and then take it outside again afterwards and just blow out anything else that was kind of just hanging out. And I won't bother taking out the motherboard because there really doesn't seem to be a need for it. But we are of course going to be repasting this thing, and I might take out the power supply just to make sure that there's no dust or anything in any weird places. Now, while I'd like to stop using the Intel stock cooler, with a chip like this there is literally no reason to use anything else but that. Like, I get it, it's an ugly cooler, it doesn't do an amazing job, but for a chip like this you don't need an amazing job, you just need a job, and by golly will this thing do a job. Now, when we took a look at this chip, obviously because of the fact that it is a dual core, it doesn't hold up too well in a lot of tasks, but one thing that it is really good at is honestly being a chip for a Plex server. It does have a very good built-in media encoder. Depending on what your you're watching, you don't really need all that much horsepower if you're going to be transcoding. Now, if you have things that need subtitles, that's usually where you're going to run into trouble, but it really depends on how many users you're going to have. If it's just you and your family of anywhere between 2 to 4 other people, maybe you would want something more powerful, but I mean, I've used a chip weaker than this for my entire family using Plex, and so far, no problems. So, you know, I mean, make of that what you will, I guess. You know, we might as well just clean the fan here. So, you know, I'm gonna just pop it out real quick. You know, you could actually just pop off the fan shroud off of the heatsink, and it makes it way easier to clean these fans. And just like that, it's looking decent enough, you know? It's not remarkable, but, you know, it's better than where we were at. And you pretty much just pop the thing back in there pretty easily. You just make sure that each side latches on, just like that. And now we have it set. All right, so now we're moving on to the graphics card. And, well, I'm going to take this thing apart. I'm going to try to figure out what exactly are the mounting screws for everything. It seems like the plastic shroud itself flips on, so I think maybe if I undo the screws around the fans, maybe it'll pop out. It's pretty tight in between the fan blades, and I'm not a fan of that. Alright, I managed to get it apart, at least the shroud like this. I can also unplug the fans. Okay, that thing looks like it's going to be annoying to unplug from there, so I might just leave that plugged in. There might not be a reason to really disassemble it completely like that. Alright, I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to take these outside and I'm going to blow them with the duster, and then I'm going to hit them with the brush as well. Went out there to try to blow this thing out, and well, what ended up happening is it started to rain, and right now I can hear the rain picking up. It's getting really bad out there. So I picked literally the worst time to start doing this, but I did manage to brush out the rest of the dust that was there, and for the most part it looks pretty solid, so I'm just going to do the rest of the shroud here. Okay, so I think I got everything in the shroud. I mean, for the most part, there's still like a thin layer of dust there, but without really going too crazy with the cleaning and just like submerging this in something, I think that this is about as good as it's going to get for us. Alright, I pretty much am done with the card. I mean, there's still a little bit of grime here and there, but I think for the most part, it looks pretty solid for a 10-year-old card. Yeah, overall, I'm pretty happy with how the card turned out. I think if I tried to do anything else to it, I'd pretty much have to like submerge it in something to get out all of the really stuck on dust. But I think we're pretty much done with the card. So I started to just clean up any of the dust and any of the residue that was just all over the case. You know, there was just a lot of paint and art residue everywhere. I did also decide to redo all the cable wiring in here because the first time around I was extremely lazy, and if I'm in here I might as well just redo the job that I should have done 8 years ago. So one thing that I just ended up realizing is that in the obsession of getting rid of all the dust, we didn't repaste the card. So I'm going to take the shroud off. I'm trying to see where are the anchor points. Seems like it might just be these 4 here. I can't see any other points where it's anchored from. You know, we'll take off these 4. See if that comes off. If not, then we'll just have to take these off. But I mean, this card, it's never been repasted, so I can only imagine how bad it is in there. Okay, there we go. We got it off. It's up in the air a bit. Oh, yeah. Yeah, this stuff is just... Look at that. My hand is clean. Just absolutely, absolutely insanely dry. Not only was it dry, but it was very thick, which is not the greatest combo. That's funny. All around it is essentially just thermal paste that is so dry it's like crusted there. Alright, so that should be it repasted, so let's get the whole system put back together and see how it looks now. Alright, well, there you have it. The system is back together. I have cleaned it to the best of my ability, at least with what I currently have. There is obviously still some residual dust here and there. It's kind of just really caked on there that I would have to scrub this thing down to get it. So I've gotten it from looking like an absolute disaster to now mostly just looking like a used PC. In particular, I'm pretty proud of how the inside looks, where it now looks more like it's a, you know, used system instead of something that you found abandoned in some attic somewhere. It looks like something you'd find listed on Facebook Marketplace back in 2019. And well, for that, I'm pretty happy. But obviously, I repasted both the CPU and the GPU, so we might as well boot this thing up and see how it performs in terms of temperature in some games. So the first set of tests that I ran on this system, one of the games that I took a look at was Overwatch 2, and in that game, we ended up seeing a maximum GPU temperature of 66 degrees with an average of 63. These are already some pretty fantastic temperatures, and it shouldn't be too surprising because of the fact that it is a pretty low power GPU. I mean, it is a 60 tier on one of NVIDIA's most famously efficient architectures, so it's not really going to use all that much power. It's not going to produce all that much heat. But what really cracked me up is that right after repasting both the CPU and GPU, I start up a game of Overwatch to, you know, test it out, and I find that the performance is disastrous. It's just an absolute mess. And well, lo and behold, after taking a look at our info here, you can see that our CPU temperature was going all the way up to 96 degrees. So it became pretty apparent to me that I mismounted the cooler. Luckily, that was a quick fix, and after doing so, we do see that the GPU temperature ends up dropping down to a nice cool 62 degrees. And of course, our CPU temperature is also chilling at 53. So clearly there was really no change at all. I mean, we're talking about extremely low end parts here. So, you know, it almost doesn't feel worth the waste of MX4 on it, but you know, better to have some fresh paste on it, I guess. Well, there you have it. The system has been restored to pretty much the best of my abilities and my willingness to put in for a system this old. Really, this was mostly just for fun. I had a lot of fun just taking apart the system and cleaning things out. I'm particularly happy with how the graphics card turned out, but as for the fate of this build, I'm not 100% sure what I want to do with it yet. I think I might end up upgrading that CPU because let's be real, the 4560 is just not great. The only time I would really recommend using it is if you're going to be making a NAS that is only going to be for file storage and essentially running Plex, and you happen to already have a motherboard that supports it. I wouldn't recommend buying into the platform today. While it is pretty capable, especially if you go with something like the i5s or even the i7s, I just think that there's better value to come from going with something more modern because you get the upgradability aspect of things. But of course, we are going to still take a look at some of the parts of this system. That graphics card we are going to take a look at more later on with another system. That way we are not being CPU bottlenecked here. Funny to think that a graphics card this old is being CPU bottlenecked, but I mean, the CPU is ancient. But anyways, I hope you liked this video. If you did, be sure to drop a like. You can also become a member of the channel for as little as $1 a month. And of course, check out the merch down below. I'll catch you guys in the next one.